Dear friends, welcome to Spacefaring Civilization, a place where fans and filmmakers of optimistic science fiction get together and support each other to create awesome optimistic science fiction and inspire a better future. Today we're going to be continuing on a series of videos on directing, and we have three wonderful directors who are back again for this discussion panel: Amelia Forsyth-Smith, George Desotzes, and Sebastian Chan. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us once again. Woohoo! So last video we talked about preparing for directing. So now the scenario is we are in the midst of it. So production has begun. And we're actually going to be filming. So how do you manage the shots that so that in your shot list? How do you manage them in such a way that it's easier for post-production, and also you capture everything that you need to capture? What are the challenges that you face, and what did you learn from them?
Yeah, well, for my film One Small Step, it involved quite a few locations. So, you know, making sure you're kind of on schedule and everyone knows the schedule. That's very important. So you can kind of, you know, especially with a smaller crew, you can do that because you can let everyone know they're on the same page, and everyone can help each other out, and everyone's working towards that one goal of getting the film finished for that day. But as a director, I think, you know, it's good that you have all your pre-production work, that you know your storyboards and everything, you know your script, but you've got to be prepared as well to chuck it all out the window and, you know, make sacrifices, I suppose, or compromise. So I think, yeah, you got to be, yeah, like I think we said in our last chat, you've got to be willing to go with the flow a lot, I think. And it can be stressful as well. So you've got to take time for yourself, and sometimes you need, you know, if you need to step away from set and have a breather, then I think that's, you know, that's a really good practice to do. Just get your thoughts, collect your thoughts, and go back into it.
I suppose when we did Unrequited Fear, we had the advantage of it's only one location essentially. So whatever filmmaker loves doing is shooting chronologically, obviously. So we just shot chronologically. In terms of, you know, shot listing and stuff like that, like I like to do the script breakdown in just one quick go sort of thing. That way, sort of where my master is going and when I'm actually going to be using it. So I sort of use that as sort of, I guess, a way to sort of help the editor know where I'm going. But obviously I keep track of all my shots in the shot list, but obviously on set sometimes, you know, it gets a bit hectic. You don't have enough people and you start losing track of what shots you're doing, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely always shoot a master is what I say. I
think Bonkers was a little special in that respect, because it was literally one room, green screen, split screens. So, and it was so cold. That's the one thing I really remember. It was so bloody cold, and I was so aware of how often I had to send George out into the cold to get changed. So I did try to actually plan around that to try and minimize his exposure as much as possible, but getting all the shots and all the angles from where we needed it. But it was being split screen. Also, there was the challenge of having the camera in the exact same space to do various shots. So it was an interesting challenge, but yeah, I tried to plan it as much as I could.
You did good.
Oh, shucks.
That leads me to my next question. So some of the challenges that we face are obviously numerous. So you're going to manage everything. You're going to manage actors. You're going to manage the sets. You're going to manage the crew. So how do you manage change? So say, for example, an actor doesn't turn up or it rains. What do you do? How do you manage those changes?
For me, it's about trying to be as positive or optimistic as possible. It's because you really, as a director or producer, you really set the tone for the other the crew and the cast. So if they see that you're, you know, stuff's going wrong, but you know, you're doing your best, and you looking for a plan, or you're basically going with it and trying to do your best, then I think everyone kind of takes something from that, and it helps everyone's perspective a little. But if you're kind of stressing out and they can see you freaking out or whatever, it's never a good thing. So having a good poker face is always a good thing.
So we can run around and say, "Sky's falling, sky's falling."
Exactly. Yeah. Someone can do that. Set one of the PAs to go do that for you to stress out.
Look, I think a lot of it comes down to your pre-production, your planning, and finding the places you can compromise. And when you do come up against the challenges that you just are insurmountable, finding a way to actually pull it in and make it part of the story, I think, just to try and, unless you've got the time to actually just cut it and come back later. But many do not.
Yeah, I suppose, like Amelia said, and also repeating Sebastian, you definitely have to stay positive, trying to use the situation as much as possible. Like, even if, if it's raining outside, okay, well, we can't use the outdoors anymore. Maybe we can do something indoors. Just always trying to adapt and use what you can to your best advantage, I guess.
And just accept there are some things you just can't change.
Like the weather, of course.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
If
true.
only.
Let's talk about, I guess, performance. So I guess this is something that I'm curious to hear Amelia talk about it, because she's an actor as well. How do you get the best performance out of your actors, considering that the actors that you might get may not be that as experienced as you like?
I think, like we said previously, that the rehearsal space is absolutely, even as an actor, it's actually quite crucial. Because as an actor, you will read through the script, you'll pull out all the obvious, the traits and the storyline, and you create your backstory for your character and trying to move it forward. But if that doesn't align with where the director is going, then it's going to throw you for a loop, and the director's just going to get mad. So I think, that engagement with acting, with your actors, is actually very crucial. So you can guide them to where you want to go, but also giving them the space to create that character and actually own it, so they can be as authentic as possible.
Does it help if, when you do shots, so they don't have to memorize a whole bunch of dialogue, but you can do it, they do it in this. Does it help, or does it hinder the whole performance thing?
I think it depends on what you're after, to be honest, and the vibe of your film, because there are ones where you may have lines that you need to absolutely nail, and you don't want to create the character through the space, I suppose, because then that comes across as a very plastic kind of character on screen. You want to be very comfortable with it, so creating it in the space is not it's not beneficial for anyone, I don't think. But that said, if there are things that need to be changed, having the shots and kind of building, I suppose, more of an emotive response in separate shots can actually be highly beneficial, because you can build to it. But holding emotion is very hard, especially if it's intense. Yeah.
How did you find it, George, in Unrequited Fear in terms of performance? Or I think you had the luxury of having actually experienced actors, but did you still face challenges?
Each actor and director is going to be different how you interact with them. So with Amelia being one of the main actors, she has a strong familiarity with acting and sort of working together. So we were very comfortable sort of with each other. Whereas with Michael, I hadn't really directed him before. So it was probably more work to be done with Michael to get what I wanted out of the performance. But it's just a matter of, talking with the actor, maybe going through the rehearsal, acting it out yourself. You try a variety of things, I suppose, in order to get your point across as a director. Especially like if you have time for rehearsals, you can get a lot of that done a lot easier. Or even like a table read or something, a script read, where you can do, in the pre-production somewhere where you can actually sit down and talk out parts of the script and say, oh, the actor might have a question, and that way you can say, as a director, oh, good question, this is the answer, and it's all written down. So that can be learned from the pre-production phase. So when it comes into production, you've sort of already got that preparation.
Yeah, like I totally agree. I think, and that all starts in pre-production, like you were saying, George. But I think, I think remembering to keep the communication lines open, especially on set, because as a director, I think sometimes, I get very focused on the shot list, the cinematography, making sure the crew are good. I think that's where having a really beneficial, having a really experienced crew, if possible, is really beneficial, because they'll be able to do their job, and you can focus on working with the actors, because no one else is going to talk to the actors. You as the director, that's your job, so making sure you don't forget them, that's really important. So having them, being able to communicate and being open to them as much as possible, I think.
So what tips and tricks do you have as a director that can help emerging directors of optimistic science fiction in terms of directing actors and crew and cast, and in production sense as well?
I think you have a crew, and you need to trust them to do their job. And you need to rely on them. Don't try and do everything, because you'll just do your head in.
So trust your crew and cast. Yeah.
I think, so like we were saying before, with the actors having communication, but also, having that with each of the crew, especially your DOP and your first AD, that comes back to trusting the crew, because they, hopefully you get the best people you can involve. But like I said, this is we're dealing with personalities as well, so making sure, you can keep that line of communication to open to everyone, because there's being on sets can be highly stressful a lot of the time. So, and everyone deals with that differently. So being able to be open and talk about issues when they arise, instead of trying to, push on without, addressing them, I think that's a really good thing to do.
Bring coffee, lots of coffee, and sugary treats. That's tip number one. Look, each set has its own unique sort of feel and how everyone sort of plays off each other. So definitely bring a positive light into it. Not necessarily be the center of attention, but bring happiness to people if they're sort of more timid or stuff like that. Just try and make everyone feel comfortable being there. That definitely brings sort of that community feeling together. Helps again with trusting your crew and your cast and whatnot, letting and each one of them trusting each other. Definitely having that camaraderie definitely goes a long way.
Good, thank you for that, guys. Let's thank our panel. Let's give it a big clap. Yeah. Thank you, Amelia. Thank you, George. Thank you, Sebastian. So this was a video. This was the second in our series of directing, how to direct in an optimistic science fiction. If you have any comments or if you have any suggestions, please leave it below. Join us again next video where we talk about post-production. So what does the director do in post-production, and what are they responsible for? So join us again next week. Until then, keep making optimistic sci-fi.